Oh, Ron, how did it come about with getting Warren Sapp in here? I guess he said he talked to Martin, but what's the value of having a guy like him talking to the players?
Well, it was kind of interesting. Actually, what happened was Jeff Scanini, who works with our defensive line, played in the league, and he and Warren were teammates, as was Martin. And so we talked about it. Jeff had, when he was with the 49ers, Warren had come in and spent a week or two with them as well. So he started talking about that and thought it would be a pretty cool deal. And I thought it would be a great idea. I know Warren as well. Coached against him, played against him actually, and just know who he is. And he's the right kind of guy. And the really neat thing about watching it too is there are some things that, guys that have done it gives them a little something extra in terms of when you can get guys' attention. And I think that's been real good for us.
And then there were a few veterans not going today. How much was it just?
Well, just taking care of guys right now. We had actually a couple guys that were sick, and so they missed today. But again, it's voluntary. But again, they were excused because of the illness.
Ron, obviously a lot of what you guys are doing is just experimenting with rotations and where you guys have lined up and things like that. You mentioned St. Jude's even playing, in the slot. What are some other things you've been kind of looking at from that perspective to get a feel for where kind of guys are and maybe how things could go?
Well, I don't want to get too specific because some of that stuff is game plan stuff. But, working Benjamin on the inside most certainly it's been something that we talked about doing just because of his length and his quickness. He moves very well lateral, and we felt that would be a good spot to give him a shot at. Last season when Kendall settled in outside, he was very good for us. And Danny Johnson's a guy that we also think can do some really good things. One thing that we really have looked at has been the different combinations of who can play the Buffalo nickel. One of the things that we have found is that with Bobby there, as one of the two safeties, if we get into a mismatch situation and we're in Buffalo, we can drop Bobby down and take the safety and put the safety back into the post or into the half. So, we're looking at things like that, trying to find out what that good combination is. The thing that we're really excited about has been the play of the young safeties. We thought Reeves and Defoe and Percy have all three done a really nice job, and we like who that group is. So we're pretty excited about what we've seen from them. Other things that we've looked at different defensive line combinations. Obviously, Chase isn't out here yet, and it's just a matter of time before he's back. Not sure when, but it'll be a matter of time. But you look at those different combination guys we've been able to work through, and these last 2 days having Duran out there has been really good for the guys. So that's been that's been very pleasant.
And to circle back on Terry for a second, obviously it's mandatory. He's not here. Is his absence though excused? Is he subject to fines or?
No, he's subject to the rules, and we'll go from there. But we give you guys a little tidbit. We've been talking with his folks probably the last week, and working on some stuff, and hopefully it'll be taken care of in a matter of time. All right. How much time, don't know, but it's never contentious. I can promise you that much. So we're feeling pretty good and pretty confident at some point this will get done, okay? And then without further ado, welcome back, Nikki. It's good to see you.
Your tight ends room, you've had success with a lot of guys that have converted from other positions. Is that happenstance, or is it becoming something that you kind of look for?
Well, it's kind of something we look for because, again, you guys know my first year here, one of the things we talked about was position flex, guys being able to move around and do different things. Well, it's one of those things that kind of applies to the tight end position that you look for guys, whether they be former basketball players or big wide receivers that just keep getting bigger. AGG is a great example of a young man that just came back and he was bigger. I think it was like 238, I think is what they told me, and they thought he could probably stay around there and be very comfortable. And I think right now he's about 232, I think the last time I checked. But, he can put that weight on. One thing that's been really good right now, and we're not in pads, but you see his blocking technique in terms of his footwork, his hand placement, the way he's setting himself and being in a good football position. So, trying to find guys that can convert or can become those kind of guys is, you do look for.
And with Logan sideline now, how competitive is that group behind him and trying to?
It's very competitive. It really is, Nikki. The thing that's been a lot of fun to watch, is what we're getting from those young guys and how many opportunities, extra reps they're getting. Really pleased with John. I think John Bates came back in great shape. He's working very hard. I was standing next to the Coach Hostler as we were watching Coach Castillo take him through their practice reps, and we were commenting on how when you look at how much more comfortable he moves around, and just know he's taken a big step. Then you look at the guys that are behind him that are learning and growing, developing. You know, the one thing we feel is we're a little more athletic as we start getting into our depth, and I think that can play very well into the things that Scott wants to do with the different personnel groupings we can use now. You know, not just being an 11 and 12 team, but we can be 11, 12, 13, and even if we get a little salty, we can go 14 personnel if we wanted to.
Hey, Coach. So back to Benjamin a little bit. From kind of last year to this year, what have you kind of seen in either his attitude or in his technique that kind of shows a difference in?
Now, who was that again?
St. Just.
Oh, Benjamin.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing you see is his confidence level in which he's playing. It's interesting, but a lot of our first and second year guys from last year and the year before, you see a little bit more swagger in their confidence when they're out there on the field doing things that they're capable of. That's pretty cool to watch. But you watch him, and it's interesting because I know a couple times, you know, he's been matched up on Jahan, and he's done some pretty good things. You know, Jahan got him yesterday on a well-thrown ball by Carson. He couldn't pick it up, but he was right there. You know, and it's one of those things that when you watch a guy practice with confidence, you know he feels that he knows what he's doing and he's using the techniques the right way. So that's been something that's been very pleasing to watch.
And after a couple concussions, is there any kind of concern about re-injury or
no,
you know, not at all?
No. What we're hoping is that he's recovered more than enough. You know, with the way we're trying to emphasize, you know, keeping our heads out of these drills and really playing with our hands and our eyes. You know, we're trying to be very, very diligent with that.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes.
Hey, Coach, it's the 50th anniversary of Title IX. I was just hoping you could speak a little bit on the impact of that case, and in particular with coaches like Jennifer King.
Well, you know, I think it's great that, you know, we can celebrate and honor something that's hopefully bringing equity and fairness in athletics, but not just athletics, but in life in general. I think that, you know, what it did was made us aware. What it did was it got us to open the doors, help kick down the walls. And, you know, with somebody like Jennifer is a tremendous example of a person getting an opportunity. And it's really kind of neat to have seen where she started when I was back in Carolina to where she is now. She's a completely different person. You know, she coaches with confidence. She has a little bit of swagger about herself in terms of when you talk football with her, you talk X's and O's, you hear her talk about those things. So I think, you know, the great thing about Title IX, as I said, is it is making sure that those opportunities are out there. And, you know, it's too bad we have to do that, but at least we have a vehicle out there that's helping us, you know, keep going forward.
Ron, with everything that obviously has gone on over the last week plus, did today feel more for you like authentic football, real football, and how important is that going into this 5-week break that maybe you guys end just talking football?
It was great. Actually, yesterday I thought was pretty good too. After, you know, did the press conference before practice, but then we were able to get on the field and just kind of enjoy it. It was today was really kind of cool because we had the alumni here. You know, not all of them. It'd been nice to, you know, if we could have had a few more guys, but I know a lot of guys are busy working and stuff like that. But, you know, it was good to have the guys that did come out, given an opportunity to meet our players, you know, and you know, they're having lunch right now down under the tent. They're having barbecue, which is kind of cool, that they can just kind of relax and spend a little time together. That's been good. You know, we did that intentionally because we want our guys to kind of get a feel and understanding for what it meant to be a excuse me for saying, but a Washington Redskin. Now they're Commanders, but you know, these are a group of men that helped lay the foundation for what this organization has been and what this organization can be, and really, it was kind of neat to see those guys.
You mentioned they played as Redskins, now you're Commanders. How do you help bridge the gap and make sure they feel welcome in the new identity?
By doing things like this. You know, what was really kind of neat was Jason Wright was down there with us, myself and Martin. We greeted these guys, and Jason explained the whole thought process behind why, you know, the name change was to the Commanders and what, you know, Commanders meant in terms of, you know, the definition that we put together for it. And I think some of the guys saw that, which was kind of cool. I mean, you know, it's always hard because it's such an icon. It was such an iconic name and logo. But, you know, we understand that going forward, you know, this is what it's going to be. So, but they were great. It was good to see them.
yesterday you said it's not a one-to-one between Terry's contract situation, the couple last year, and I know you guys are working on it now, but with the timing and the deliberateness of the three, I guess, big deals that you've worked on since you've been here, is that sort of reflective of a front office philosophy to take that time?
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you want to make sure and go through the process of really thinking these things out. There's a lot of planning that goes involved, and it's not just planning for this coming season, but there's strategic planning going forward. I mean, you hope to be able to keep everybody, and I do mean everybody that you can, and we're trying to map it out. If you start spending, then where's the money going to come from? And just how are you going to start planning for it? Well, by one at a time, and being very, very thoughtful about what we're doing.
And you mentioned in early May that you would like to add another veteran linebacker. You guys haven't done that so far. Why is that, and do you plan to still?
Not too worried about bringing a veteran guy in because their acclimation period is going to be a lot shorter than a lot of these young guys. We want to really take a look. We've identified 3 of these young guys that we really like, and we probably may only be able to keep one of them, maybe 2, but we wanted to give them opportunities, and we've talked about this. Probably at least maybe twice a week for probably the last 3 weeks, and what we've seen in those 3 guys. So we constantly go over those and talk about that, and we'll watch a little bit of tape on each one of them, and just kind of see where they are. And as we get closer to training camp, we'll start deciding what our next move is going to be as far as personnel.
Take 3 more.
Any interest in naming those 3 guys?
No.
Figured. When it comes to keeping everybody, with Terry as someone who's been so exemplary in a lot of ways, do you feel like you want to set the standard and say, hey, we're going to take care of this guy so the future players can kind of see how that all shapes out?
Right, and I think that's important is that when a player like this does make the impact he's made, and not just on the football team, but around the community and everything, you have to be able to take care of that guy so everybody understands that this is the type of player we want. This is how guys that do it this way, and so that's why. And I've said this. We're not trading Terry. We're everything we're doing is we're trying to get this done. And like I said, just to tell you guys, we've been talking with these guys for over probably the last 7-8 days, and we intend to do this because we believe in who Terry is for us and what he can bring to the table.
And one more on him. This team has had its struggles for years, and people think when free agency comes around, why would someone like Terry, who can be productive elsewhere, why would he want to stay around? Is that an image or a reputation you're trying to change, and how can you go about it?
Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to understand that, we're not the past. And I've said this to you guys. Please don't try to pull us backwards. Help push us forward. And that's what we really want to do. And if we can get guys like Terry to come here and play for us and have success, have success with Carson. Now all of a sudden people start saying, wait a minute, you can do it here. Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create that type of atmosphere.
Got time for one more.
With Sam Howell, he made a little bit of a buzz when he said that he only eats chicken and pork, not red meat. Just wanted to get your perspective on that.
Well, that's he's missing out. I can tell you that much. And yeah, he better be careful, because if he comes to dinner at our house, he's going to have to eat what she cooks, because she's not going to cook anything special. Well, that's Sam. It's kind of funny, growing up where he did. But down in the Carolinas, there's a lot of good pork barbecue. I can appreciate that. So if that's what happens, then okay, all right.
First question you got in the past couple of days.
It really was, because I had to think about the answer. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys.
Right, what's going on? Yeah, it's better than the other one.
Just how's your offseason been, and what have you kind of been up to, and trying to improve your game and all that?
The offseason was great. Played a lot of golf, did a lot of traveling. And I actually went over to L.A. and started working with this quarterback guy that I think Carson works with. Trying to work on a couple things, arm strength, mechanics, stuff like that. And I think it's definitely improved my game a little bit. It's just something I have to keep working on and feel comfortable with. So, but other than that, offseason was great, a lot of fun. took a lot of time to relax, let the body heal up, and it's been a great 2 months here.
Was that a coincidence that he also worked with Carson, or after Carson was acquired, did you seek that out?
I think it was a coincidence. I showed up, and then in his office, he has a bunch of fat heads of the guys that he's working with, and Carson's right there. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So it's cool because out in the field, there'll be a couple drills that I won't get my hips into it, and Carson will be like, hey, remember what Adam said, this, and that. So it's really cool that we're kind of on the same page here, and he can help me out a lot with that stuff. Adam Dado.
How does one go about improving arm strength when you've been in the NFL for a handful of years? What stuff can you do at this point of your career?
I think it's all mechanics. There's a number of things that kind of looking at film, my hips weren't coming through. A lot of my weight was on my front foot, so I couldn't really drive the ball. A lot of times my front shoulder was down, so I couldn't get a nice little loft on it. So again, those are all things that I've been working on, and I feel like I've been improving on it the last 2 months.
How do you, I guess, go into summer feeling this offseason compared to last offseason? It seems like it might be a little different.
It's kind of the same because last offseason I came in here as the backup to Fitz, and kind of same thing this year. I think the only difference is I have experience now, having started 15, 16 games. So I kind of feel like I know what it takes to be a good quarterback. I know what it takes to win. So I think that's the biggest difference from last year to this year. But again, this situation is no different than any other year I've been in. It's kind of just clawing my way in, trying to earn that spot in the team, and go from there. So the biggest thing I do is, again, you've heard me say this: control what I can control, and go out there, do my best, and see what happens.
Considering how fast things changed last year, is that something that stays in the back of your mind, or I guess how do you approach that?
In what way do you mean?
I guess you came in last year as the backup as well, but things changed really quickly. Is that something that you have? Is there an extra urgency in these reps? I guess, or
no. I mean, again, every guy on the team will tell you the same thing. You go out there and practice like you're the starter, just in case. NFL's crazy, man. Everyone gets hurt, so at any given play, your number's going to be called. So you just have to make sure that you're ready. And thank God last year at that time I was ready.
Had you worked with anybody in the past on improving that area, or if not, why this year?
No, I haven't. I've kind of always stuck to the guys down in Georgia that I've been with, and I kind of just tweaked on my own. But again, going out to LA this year was huge for me. It opened my eyes to a lot of things I didn't even think of. So he taught me a lot. He used to be a baseball player, so he kind of understands the mechanics. He worked with Tom House. So again, it was just the little things that he just pointed out that makes a huge difference. So I'm very happy I went out there.
What's it like for you? Because you obviously start every game and you answer that question about durability, but then it seems like there's always holes poked in your game. Are you used to that? Do you care? What's that like? Is it like with a backup? Or?
Yeah, I'm used to it. It's been that way my whole life. And again, there's things that you want to see in a prototypical quarterback that sometimes I just don't have, or but I feel like I maybe bring something else to the table, whether that's scrambling or improvising or something like that. So there's a give and take there, but again, there's always room for improvement in a lot of my game.
To that end of people poking holes in your game or what have you, all off season up until the point they made the deal for Carson, was a lot of talk of what is this team going to do at quarterback? How much were you paying attention to any of that, and what were you kind of making of that journey as it was happening?
So I kind of knew we were going to go out and get someone, whether it was through the draft or free agency. So when you know that, you kind of just sit back and wait. You don't stress over it. You know it's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. So what I did was just kept on training, trying to be the best me I can be. And again, like I just said earlier, I just try and control what I can control, because when you start thinking about that, when you start reading all those things, that's when you start getting in your own head, stuff like that. So I try and pull that away and do my own thing and get better from there.
And it's early, of course, but what's his quarterback room like compared to some of the other ones you are? Obviously, you're the mainstay and everybody else is new.
Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of fun. Carson came in, and it's a pretty difficult playbook to learn at first. Very wordy. There's numbers, there's names, there's a bunch of different type of things. So Carson had a lot of questions at first, but he's done a great job for the past 2.5 months of really honing down on it. And then Sam, same thing. He came in, I'm sure it was tough for him, the vernacular at first, and he's on it now. Both those guys can sling it. It's really fun to watch them throw the ball. So I feel like we're all out there getting each other better, and it's a very fun quarterback room.
Take a couple more.
Taylor, last year at this time, I think you said your emphasis was on finding a way to stay healthy, bulking up, all that stuff. By being able to do that, how important was that for you to prove to yourself that you could do it? And also maybe was there anything else that you learned about yourself, your game, your style by getting the experience that you were able to get last year?
Yeah, like you said, the durability was the biggest question mark. I started one game back in 2018 and tore my tricep in the first half. There's been a number of concussions throughout the years, so that was the biggest question mark I wanted to check, and I did that. So kind of looking back at last year through this offseason, there's a lot of things. Sometimes I overcomplicated things, was looking too far into the defense instead of just it's black and white. If they do this, throw it here. I was just thinking too much. So again, one of the biggest things throughout this OTAs minicamp is just sticking to the playbook. What we talk about in meetings, let's go out there and execute it. Don't think too much about it. So I feel like I've made some strides in that.
Last one.
Do you feel you'll have any opportunity at all to change people's minds in the building about the starting quarterback position, or is that not even an option for you?
I don't think that's an option. You look at the NFL, it's at the end of the day, it's kind of a business. And if you're paying someone $30 million and you're paying someone else $2 million, you're paying this guy $30 million to play, and that's not me. Carson's a great quarterback, and you see it through OTAs and minicamp. And I hope he goes out there and succeeds. And again, my job is just to back him up. Hopefully he's on his deal, help him out whatever way I can. And if for some reason he goes down, I'm ready to go play. So that's how I look at it. But again, the NFL is a business. You're paying a guy a lot of money. You're paying him money for a reason. He's going to play.
The obligatory. How are you feeling? How's the recovery going? And where are you at it?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. It's been a slow and long process throughout these past few months. But it's progressed well. I'm right on track with where I need to be be back for the season. There's a little bit of time before training camp, so there's some strides that I still need to make before I'm ready for training camp. I don't know exactly when I'll get back into the swing of things, but our goal is to be sometime during training camp. So.
What's maybe been a particularly slow part, or was the injury maybe worse than you originally thought? Where's the delay been?
There was some pretty serious things happening with my ankle. I had to have 3 separate things happening to the ankle without getting into too many details about it. So there's some recovery on the ligament side as well as the bones, and so a lot of stuff to recover from, but it's gone very well. Our staff here's done a great job with me. Jeff's done a great job, and Brett's done a great job over there. They've really got me back to where I need to be right now, and over this next month or two, I'll be really getting ready to go. So,
what has that recovery looked like?
Oh man, there's a lot of stages of it. Initially, there's not so much I can do. Obviously, I literally have a broken leg, so it just starts with load bearing at first. As I start to be able to do that, I got into more mobility type things, and now it's changed the direction and power through that, so that I can take on 300-pound people. So that's the next tester over this next month and a half or so.
And I guess what will that look like, or what specifically will you have to do to feel ready for camp?
Yeah, I mean, it just takes repetition with those guys, going out there on the field and just stimulating a lot of those things. And I'll be able to test those things in training camp as well. I'm not just going to get thrown out there and take all the reps immediately. I'll be able to kind of work my way in so that I'm able to feel confident on it and get back on it. So.
When you see what's going up on the line too, you're going to have 2 new guards next to you. How do you go about the process of getting used to Trey and Andrew, and just making sure when you get out there that you're same page?
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of guards over my years here, so that transition is something that I've very much gotten used to. Being able to quickly transition to, getting used to another guy next to me. But right now, because I'm able to watch so much film on them, I'm behind them, I'm talking to them constantly. There's a lot of trust that gets built through that as well. So, while I'm not getting the actual reps, I'm getting a lot of those mental reps with them. And then, I'm able to also see them on film every single day. I'm in every meeting, I'm watching them out there. So that also helps a lot.
Sorry if somebody asked some version of this while I was focusing elsewhere. With regards to Carson, obviously you got to get some sort of chemistry going with him at some point.
Yeah.
Can't do all the stuff. Is there anything sort of that you guys can do in advance, or is it literally just sort of getting to know each other as people and kind of football will take care of itself?
Yeah, we're in the process of getting to know each other as people right now. Because I'm obviously not out there taking snaps with him, but. There's still football discussion that we've gotten into. There's a lot of discussion about, when we're in this play or this formation and we get this front, like we have those discussions to kind of make sure we're on the same page together. So while I may not be out there, we're still having those talks that allow us to be comfortable when we get back out on the field together. And we can, really be on the same page when it comes to protections and different run calls and all those things that he makes calls on, and then I also make calls on, so that we can really work together and feel very comfortable with it. We're definitely having those discussions whether or not we're getting the reps.
A rehab of that magnitude, so many operations. What's the mental side of that like?
Yeah, it can be rough at times. I think the most difficult part, especially last year, comes from being away from my teammates for that long. I've had injuries in the past, but nothing that's taken me away like this has. So that and missing out on that camaraderie with my teammates for a while was a struggle. But being back here, it's all back, and so you get over that pretty quickly. I leaned on my wife a lot in those times, and she did a great job nursing me back to health. So it's been tough at times, but you just got to fight through it, and just stay on your feet and keep going.
Hey Chase, with Brandon Sheriff gone, what does his absence do to the chemistry on the unit, and how has Andrew Norwell and the other new arrivals impacted that?
Yeah, obviously we all know how important Brandon was to this franchise for a long time. Brandon was a phenomenal guard for us, a good friend of mine, someone I played against or with for many, many years. So he he was a fun guy to play with for a long time. And we will miss him, but we did bring in some guys that, have the ability to fill those shoes in a great way. They have different strengths than Brandon, and those are strengths that we will, we'll see as the games progress. But I think we will, we'll keep moving, and we'll do very well with that.
How have you continued to help the other centers on the team, whether that be Keith or Tyler or anything like that during this time?
Yeah, so Tyler and I are in a pretty similar situation right now. Tyler's rehabbing as well with me. So, that's also been very helpful for me, going through not similar injuries, but similar timeline of injuries at the same position. We can have a lot of football discussion even when we're away from, team doing our rehab stuff. So that helps us, but both of us are then available to help the guys that maybe are a little less experienced. Wes Schweitzer has been taking a lot of center reps, which he has done mostly guard in his career. So he's doing a fantastic job, but it's a new position for him. So we're able to help him out with that. And then obviously helping out the younger guys like Keith and John, who's the same age as me, but also he's been playing a lot of guard too. So helping him to learn our offense and get, into the swing of things as well.
Appreciate it.
What's going on, Montez?
What's up?
Last year, setting the expectations with you and Chase, and then maybe not having as much success as you wanted. What did you learn, or how are you going to change your approach to have better results this year?
I'm not necessarily changing my approach. We're just worried about winning. I think all that other stuff will take care of itself.
And how just the injuries, your brother's death, just how difficult was that season overall, and did you learn anything about yourself as you experienced all that adversity?
Yeah, it was a difficult time, but I mean, just honing on the things that you grow upon and just facing adversity and moving forward. Just remembering those ones as lost and trusting in God.
How did you approach this offseason, and what was that like?
I really wasn't. I wasn't as depleted as I usually am because I didn't play a full season, so I really got straight to it. So, I mean, I just trained.
Where did you train, and what did you focus on?
I trained in my hometown back at Atlanta, Georgia, and just focusing on my body, recovery, strength, and pass rush skills.
Just to kind of follow up on the adversity, like, are you just doing okay? Like, just kind of how are you holding up?
I'm fine.
And just in terms of wanting to attack this offseason, was there any more motivation or anything about how last year played out? Or
That's definitely motivation. Definitely when you have a down year, you want to bounce back, show them those naysayers that you still got it. But, I mean, this year I'm just trying to prove myself right. I'm not really worried about the outside at all.
Jack came in. Jack had talked about his thing. Ron talked about Jack speaking to the team. Where do you stand on that? Are you able to push out aside? Is that something you talked to him about?
I mean, Jack has always showed love and respect to me. That's all I know from him. His political views and all that other stuff that he feels that's his opinion. We might not have the same outlook on things, but as long as he showed love and respect like he has with all the guys in the workplace, then I'm good.
Do you feel like as a unit you guys are in a good place coming into this season?
Almost definitely. I feel the gelling, but I mean we got a long way to go. So.
Hey Montez, this team exercised your fifth-year option. They obviously wanted you back. You wanted to be back. How do you think that impacts your responsibilities this year, and how does it feel that the team wanted you back so much?
I mean, it's just a credit to what I've done here and when the organization trusts me. I mean, it's definitely a motivation just to keep on showing that I can be great and keep on getting better.
This offseason, have you worked on any specific moves or anything different about your game to improve?
Not necessarily. I'm just honing in on all my techniques.
Just to follow up on that real quick, is there any interest in getting a long-term contract done? Any discussions or anything of that nature?
I mean, not really worried about that right now. Just worried about winning.
Take 2 or 3 more.
Hey Montez, so what have you noticed recently of Benjamin playing in the slot? What have you seen from him that you like in terms of development?
Yeah, Benjamin is a good athlete, man. I feel like he did good on the outside. I'm sure he'll do well on the inside as well.
And just have you noticed at any times there's been times he's had to come in and help out? What have you noticed from him in terms of development and growth?
I mean, he's a guy that you can kind of play anywhere on the bottom end rather than the back end. So I mean, any guy like that's versatile like that is always a plus to the team.
Montez, you mentioned last year just not going on the field, not going the way you probably wanted it to go. Before the season started, there was all this talk about you and Chase setting sack records or things like that. When you look back on that, do you look at that as, these are things we extend thought and didn't go our way, or do you look at it and think, maybe we shouldn't have discussed such things openly or things like that?
I mean, I think it was a bold statement. I mean, I still feel like we're capable of those things, but I do feel like having the main goal of winning and all that would play itself.
Last one.
Hey Montez, what was it like having Warren Sapp out there, and what was kind of the takeaway that you got from seeing a guy with that many credentials?
It was great. A gold jacket guy, Hall of Famer. You just feel it. You feel his energy. You feel the way he loves the game, and of course he was giving us tools in game just that he's learned upon. So it was great.
How y'all doing? Good.
Hey Sam, so just to get started with, what's this been like getting into the NFL and starting with a new team?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Been a lot of fun just trying to come out here and get better each day. I'm in a great room with some great guys and great coaching staff here. So just trying to get used to everything, trying to learn the offense, and really just try to take it one step at a time and get better each and every day. But no, it's just a total dream come true. It's just a blessing to be able to go on the field with my teammates and be a part of this team.
What's it been like reuniting with De'Ami Brown?
Yeah, it's awesome. De'Ami's one of my good friends. Obviously, we had a lot of success together in college. So just to be back with him, it's an awesome feeling. I called him as soon as I got picked. So it's super exciting just to be back with him, a guy I know so well and played a lot with.
Hey Sam, obviously OTAs and now minicamp. What have you noticed about yourself? You know, that the way you played in college at UNC versus how you're trying to play now versus how coaches are telling you to play now. What are some differences that you've noticed?
Yeah, it's just a little different. Two different systems, I would say. We were more strictly shotgun in college, more of an air raid type system. Here's more of a pro style offense, a little more under center, some more play action stuff. So just some stuff that I didn't really do in college that I got to get more comfortable with. I feel like I'm making some good progress though. So I'm taking all the coaching really well. They're doing a really good job coaching, getting a lot of good advice from Carson and Taylor as well. So just trying to take all that advice, do the best I can, try to get better each and every day.
Yeah, and then going off that physically, is there anything you noticed about the way you played in terms of like body movement or positioning or technique that you noticed that you have to work on, that coaches were telling you to work on, as opposed to how Phil and Mac at UNC were doing it?
Yeah, not too many big differences. Kind of the way that they teach my footwork is a little bit different. There's some differences there. So I would say that's probably the only difference as far as technique-wise. But everything else is pretty similar.
You touched on it a little bit earlier, but what's it been like working with Carson and Taylor?
Yeah, it's awesome. They're both great guys. I'm just happy to be somewhere where there's two really good quarterbacks in my room that are helping me out a lot. They're giving me a lot of really good advice, and they're both really talented guys. So I'm just happy to be in the room with them, compete with those guys each and every day. So it's awesome to have those guys.
What sort of advice is like bigger advice or like smaller, like little tips here and there?
Yeah, just little tips here and there. They've both obviously played in this league for a really long time, and they know a lot of things that I simply just don't know yet. And so they do a really good job of helping me, giving me pointers here and there. So I'm just blessed to be with two guys that are willing to help me.
Sam, you started as a true freshman at UNC. When was the last time you weren't the starter on your team? And has it been weird coming into a spot where like you're a little bit lower on the depth chart?
Yeah, probably the last time I played in like an all-star game when I was in like 7th grade. And the coach's son played quarterback, and I actually played defensive end. So that's probably the only time in my life where I haven't been the starting quarterback. But for me, I'm just going to embrace my role, do everything I can, just try to get better each and every day. And when my name's called, I'll be ready.
Hey, Sam, how's the learning curve been from college to the pros, and what's been the hardest thing for you to sort of adjust to?
Yeah, it's a little different. I think our offense here is just a little bit more. There's a lot it's just the bulk is just a little bit more than it was in college. For me, I love football. I love studying football, so it's pretty much all I do. I spend a lot of time away from here studying the offense, the playbook, trying to get comfortable with it. And I feel like I'm in a really good place right now.
All right, when you got drafted, this chicken and pork thing became briefly very big. Can you clarify this for us?
Yeah, so for me, I don't eat red meat. It's just something that really, when I was younger, I didn't really like. And so chicken is pretty much the only meat I eat, and it's kind of what works for me. I wish I liked steak. I hate going to a steakhouse and everyone orders a steak and me not being able to. But I just simply don't like it, and chicken's what works for me.
Do you do fish?
I'm trying to do a little more fish, but growing up, I wasn't a big seafood guy either.
They take care of you here? They make sure you get what you need?
Yeah, they definitely do. They do. Food here is unbelievable.
Have you been surprised by the reaction to that? Like, as many people picked up on it as they have?
Nah, I'm pretty used to it. Pretty much throughout my whole life, everywhere I go, as soon as like the new team or whatever picks up on it, then it becomes a pretty big deal. So I'm pretty used to it.
Taylor said this can be a tricky playbook to learn. It's like pretty wordy.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience been like with that, and how do you learn it?
Yeah, it definitely is wordy. But I think the only way to learn it is time, putting time into it. And I kind of have my own process of how I learn things. And so I do that same process that I've had for a long time. And I think the main thing is just putting time into it. And just time away from here, time at night, just spending time in the playbook and just trying to get more comfortable with it. And I feel like I'm in a pretty good place right now. But it is wordy, but it's really good as well. So.
It looked like today maybe you were more comfortable when there's up-tempo and it was in that 2-minute situation. Is that maybe a trend you've noticed, and is it easier when you can maybe think less and just play a little more instinctively?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of 2-minute drill we did today, that's similar to how I played in college. We no huddle, signals, stuff like that, which is kind of what I'm used to. But I'm just trying to get more comfortable with all of it. And I feel like I'm making some good progress. Still think there's a lot of things for me to learn. I'm just going to try to go out there and get better each and every day.
Anybody else? Thanks, Jeff.
Cool. Thank you.
was going to ask, like, when you say like studying ball, like, is there something from Carson specifically that you've seen from like a veteran quarterback that you want to pick up on?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say the consistency. I think he's very consistent, and the way he gets to his checkdowns is really impressive. So just he always has a plan with the ball before the ball is even snapped. So just trying to get to that point.